The desktop of my Raspberry Pi 5 running Raspberry Pi OS Linux. Let's install Linux Air Combat version 9.83. This is the current version from August of 2025. But I also will use this as an example of just installing the latest, greatest Linux Air Combat for whatever may come about in the future. To do this, I'm going to fire up my web browser. I'm using Mozilla Firefox, but it shouldn't matter which one. I'll open a new tab and I'll search for Linux Air Combat. That'll usually bring up hundreds of links, but usually the one you want, the first one you want, usually the one you want is the first one that'll show up in the text. Look for the one from sourceforge.net. That's where we publish all of our latest source code and our distribution kits. So I'm going to click here right now. Click. That brings up this page about Linux Air Combat. And it has a lot of stuff you can read through, a general description. But for our purposes, I happen to know what we want is to go into the Files area to download the latest version for Raspberry Pi. Click. That'll take us to a area that has a lot of hierarchically oriented downloads. There's a description here. I'm going to click on Choose Your Platform just to drill into it. And in Choose Your Platform, you can see that there are some beta test versions and there's also some Raspberry Pi versions. I'm going to go into the beta test version because I happen to know that's where the latest one is right now. But sometimes the beta test version area will be empty or you won't want a beta test version. You might find the latest version in Raspberry Pi. Either way, there are dates on them. You can tell which is the latest. So I'm clicking here in beta test versions. Click. Now here, there's some text that describes what you can expect here. And it talks about version 9.83. It was published in late July 2025. And that's how I know it's the latest one. And I can see there's two different source code versions, version 9.82 and version 9.83. We're going to want to use this version, but as it turns out for the Raspberry Pi, there's an easier way to install it than to go through this tar archive. So I'm going to go back up a level and explore what's in the Raspberry Pi version. Sometimes you'll find the latest stuff there. Click Raspberry Pi, and it has a section. It also has version 9.83 here, and there's some text describing versions, including one that's a little older. But notice this folder here called Automatic Install Scripts for Raspberry Pi. Sometimes the latest stuff you want for the Raspberry Pi is here. So I'm going to click here, click, and this has production versions of those scripts. So I'm going to click here and drill into production versions of the install scripts for Raspberry Pi. Click. And here I can see there's a script for version 9.83 for 32-bit operating systems and another script for 9.83 for 64-bit versions. And there's a description down here. You can read through this description and see what you're getting. But of course, I'm here. I'm going to comment on it right now. I know that almost everybody nowadays is going to want the 64-bit version. So this is a script that will automatically install everything. I'm going to left click on it. Actually, I'm going to left click on it and try to download that script. So here it says your download will start shortly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It counts down. And when it's ready to come, it'll start downloading it. Looks like it needs to resolve something. But in a moment, it'll ask me where I want to store it. Maybe it's already there. Recent download history. Okay, looks like we got it. Thank you for downloading Linux Air Combat, it says. I don't know why it's not so obvious that we got our download here, but if I look at this little download icon from Mozilla Firefox, looks like we've got it. It says recent download history. So that should be in my downloads. Accordingly, I'm going to close this message out, close out the browser, and go into our downloads area and see what we've got there. Downloads. There it is. LAC 9.83 install script for 64-bit Pi 4 or Pi 5.sh. So that is a shell script. To use a shell script, you use the same method that's been made popular and standard in Linux and Unix operating systems for decades and decades. I'm going to fire up a command terminal or a command shell. Let's make it nice and big. And I think I'll also make the text bigger. If I do a long listing, I can see that text is smaller than I like. So I'm going to go edit, zoom in, and we'll make it a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger so you can see it better on this movie. That's nice. We're going to do change directory to downloads. And then a long listing, ls minus L, shows that script right there. That's the install script I want to use. I notice that it doesn't have X's here in the privileges, so it's not yet executable. So I'm going to make it executable. It'll be handy to just copy this file name. So I'm going to go edit copy. And now that I've copied that, I'm going to use the change mode, chmod plus X for adding executable, and then paste the name of that file, edit paste. So that's change the mode by adding the executable privileges to that file. I'm going to hit enter. And now when I do a long listing, ls minus L, we'll see it looks different. You can see now it has X's here, so the owner, the group, and the associated world will be able to execute that shell script. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to clear this display and look at it again. And we're going to run that script by typing / and then this name, which is already still pasted in my paste buffer, so edit paste. So I'm going to run it. And as I run it, it's going to describe to me what it's doing, and it will automatically download and install the latest version of Linux Air Combat. I won't have to do anything but just read along. I'm pressing enter. It says Linux Air Combat installation script for Raspberry Pi model 4B, 400, or 5 on a 64-bit Raspberry Pi operating system. This script will download, compile, and install Linux Air Combat version 9.83 on and for the Raspberry Pi model 4, 400, or 5 running on a 64-bit Raspberry Pi. All the temporary files are stored in the temp folder. This entire process will require about 6 minutes. Be patient. The script displays a lot of text, blah, blah, blah. If this script ever displays any error messages, you should abort it with Control-C. It says commencing in 15 seconds, press Control-C to abort. So here it's running. It says checking to see if this has been attempted previously and deleting any related stale old leftover files. Found a stale copy of /usr/bin/slack and deleting it. That's because I already had a version that was older and it's deleting the older version. Found stale lack shared resource directory at /usr/share/slack and it's deleting that. Installing the 3 main prerequisite software libraries necessary to compile and run lack. Any that are already installed and up to date will remain unchanged. Press Control-C within 15 seconds to abort. Just checking to see if we've got those 3 prerequisite libraries, and it found them all. It says this one's already there, this one's already there, they're all are there. We'll download the published lack install archive for Pi 5, and then we will compile it from source code to ensure it is compatible with this platform. So, downloading. It's beginning to download the source code. It's going to SourceForge to do that. You can see you get this progress bar, 15%, 20%, 24%. It's quickly getting all of it. There's 39, 40%. When it gets to 100%, it'll de-archive that. We'll see that happening too. 79%, 80. There's 90%. We almost got it. 99, 100%. Okay, it says it saved that file, a tar file. Now it's de-archiving the source code from the downloaded tar file. Once again, I haven't had to do anything other than just watch this. Next, we will compile the source code with the G++ compiler. You can ignore any warning messages produced by G++, but watch the compiler process carefully. If G++ generates any error messages, you must abort this script by pressing Control-C. Compile process commences in 15 seconds. Press Control-C to abort now if you're not ready to monitor the G++ compiler messages. And here it is now compiling. There are about 20 source code files. You probably won't ever see any error messages, but if you do, it means that something is maybe out of date. They may have modernized something in the compiler that's not compatible with this source code or something. but I don't think you're going to find that very often. It's working through these files in alphabetical order. Most of them are pretty small and they compile in just seconds, but there are a couple of files that are bigger. Main.cpp is a little bit bigger, and it takes 15 seconds or so to compile. The other big one is called mission.cpp, which is the biggest file, and it takes a little bit longer to compile than these others. But as you can see, it quickly works through all of them, and within 1 or 2 minutes, you'll have everything compiled and linked, and you'll see the process, the progress as it works through all the files here. Excuse me. Once it gets them all compiled, it will link them, and then it'll talk you through what it's doing to install it in the appropriate places of your file system so anybody can file and use it. Here's the linkage that we talked about. It's linking all those pieces together. It says, okay, if you saw no error messages from G++, then the source code was successfully compiled. That's what you want to see. So we're doing good here. Everything compiled and linked okay. Now, changing to the darchive new directory containing the executable that we just compiled, copying the new compiled 64-bit executable to /Unix system resources /bin/lac for easy access. Now copying the runtime resource files to a new folder at Unix system resources /share/lac for easy access. So it's putting all the pieces in the easy places to find them. Now it says done. The latest, greatest version of 64-bit Linux Air Combat for Raspberry Pi 5 has now been installed. This will also work for Raspberry Pi 4, by the way. To run lac from a bash shell, just issue the lac command, terminating with the enter key according to long-standing Linux norms. For more help and resources, explore our lac repository on Raspberry 5 here, and it tells you where you can go to get more. Thank you. We look forward to flying with you online. So it's working. Now to verify that it's working, I can use the well-known which command, which lac, and it'll tell me where it's finding lac. And there it is. It's /Unix system resources /bin/lac, which means anybody can find it. So I can run it by just typing lac, L-A-C. And when I do, it's going to start up. Notice that this is exactly what you can expect, whether you're brand new with lac and have never had it on this machine before, or if this is an upgrade from an older version. If you are upgrading from a prior version, any customization you've made will be preserved. If you've remapped your keyboard or remapped your joystick or set up a different size of window for running, or if you've optimized anything, that stuff stays. It won't overwrite that. But if you haven't got a pre-configured Linux Air Combat, it'll start out generically. So I'm just typing LAC, and it'll use my pre-existing optimization and graphics settings because they were already there in my case. So I'm hitting enter now. Enter.
Disconnected.
You hear things as it also